thinks all that stuff should be removed. The car should be restored the way it looked when it left his hands and repainted Viking blue. And we cannot come to any agreement on that. And you know, and well, it's a shame because I really respect him. I like the guy, but I can't go by his restoration philosophy because my emotional involvement, or let's say our emotional involvement, because it's not my car anymore, is with its history and the fact that it left Shelby looking pretty much like it does now. And his emotional involvement is, I did this, I made it with my hand, I was there when they sprayed it Viking blue, and that's the way it should be. Yeah. Okay. Yes, yeah, in fact, if you look on the top of it, on the white stripe, it's signed by Carol Shelby, Bob Bondurant, Pete Brock, and Phil Hill. All of them saw it and erased it. No. Well, because they were not this car. You see, this is the only car that he ever had his hands on. The other 5 were made in Italy. So, and this has significant, small but significant differences from the other 5. So this is the only one that he has that close emotion. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like his child. And I can understand why he wants to do that. And I can also understand why somebody who saw all this that I talked about thinks, you know, that's really crazy. Who cares about date coding and things like that? But then there's other people who like the gun. You know, if it's the real gun that shot Abraham Lincoln, it has a special feel about it, and that's the feel that some people get, including me, when they're looking at the real stuff that it left the factory with. Somebody said the beauty of the vase is not in the clay, but in the potter's hands. And the constructor had his hands on everything that you see here. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, preservation, conservation, when did that happen for you, and how did that become important? Because you're talking about now, but at what point in your life did you start to think that way?
Well, I think there are 2 things. First of all, 4 of these cars were my dad. My dad was not a very wealthy guy, but we got some of these cars out of junkyards because in the 60s, most of the junkyards had cars from the 30s in them. We got that, you'll see a beautiful Auburn Speedster that Dad and I pulled out of the junkyard. And his pride and joy was the yellow Accord that you see over there. In fact, that car is has the longest time in single-family ownership of any car in the Classic Car Club of America. It's Grand Classic number 4. If you know what Grand Classic is, they're up to 2,000 now. But it was a pretty nice car in my kid opinion, you know, 14-year-old kid opinion. Tore out the upholstery, put new upholstery in, repainted it. My job was to shine everything, including the radiator tank, because it was brass. If it would shine, if it could be chrome, that's what you did, and that's the way the hobby grew up. And sadly, that's the way it still is. If you go to Pebble Beach is not a judge of cars, it's a judge of restoration craftsmanship. And personally, I'm not interested in restoration craftsmanship, particularly if it destroys the historic meaning of the car. So I kind of rebelled against that when I was a boy. And then I would read about furniture, and you know, in furniture you don't mess with anything. If the shellac on it is crazed, you leave it that way. You don't tear it off and polyurethane it. If the brasses are bent, you don't say get replacements. You just leave it the way you found it. And if the way you found it is rough, too bad. But we keep it. We kind of use the same criteria. Anybody else? Okay, Kenny, you want to see if we can start this out? I didn't really know we were going to do that, but that's fine.
I don't blame him.
Does he have the clutch in?
Or preserve handbar point. But there's a question, because even that dirt is
which is why, because I was thinking, did you say that the question always next one? If you're gonna, let's see,